The following is a presentation of iRacing on PTR TV. We'd like to thank all of our channel partners for their support. Please like and subscribe to the channel, and we hope you enjoy today's broadcast. Just as quickly as we conclude a season 1 week ago, we start one here anew. The Red Sox Racing League in their GT3 campaign has been taking new levels season after season as we reach record car counts and record levels of competition. Tonight we take it across the pond to the little confines of Italy to take the trek around the famous circuit of Monza. 3.4 miles around, the highest speeds you'll see probably all season, and excited to give you all the calls. Welcome everybody to PTR TV for today's coverage of the Red Sox Racing League with their GT3 Series 3 campaign, race number 1 here, the third season we've had in this spring sector of the calendar here. Gonna be a solo man today. Booth, myself, Corey Silva in the booth and in the production truck. As I've run most of these, I will have some help. Bradley will be with me for races 2 through 6, so he'll wrap up the season. Just a little bit tied up here on the evening. But in true form, we are here at Monza again, and typically as we enter these broadcasts, we will be here for qualifying for a few minutes, and these guys are turning their laps. Laps already turned here thus far. And to surprise of absolutely nobody, Ryan Robertson the fastest on the pylon. But just as it was last week, Mr. Mark Kudrowski is in second. And you'll see something a little bit different, something you haven't seen here in a Red Sox Racing League race. We do have a very, very minuscule level of precipitation here on circuit. You'll primarily see it on the edges of the track, in the shaded sections, a little bit off circuit. You'll see a puddle. The server was set up to initiate a little bit of rain in practice. The very, very beginning of practice, maybe 15 or so minutes of precipitation, if even that. And then it's quickly dried off. So just kind of experimenting here for future iterations and future race conditions. So you will see these guys. You can see here on the long straightaway, we will be heading into the second variante here, the second chicane, and looks as though everything is dry here, but as we come into the Lesmos here, turns 6 and 7, this is a lot more shaded of a sector of the track, so you'll see a little bit of spray kicking up, predominantly here on corner exits, I believe it was, unless it's already since dried up, but a lot of shade here, so that section of the track will dry up a little bit slower. It's still very much grippy enough for these drivers to be in the slicks. You can see here that's Dave Hill there, that number 13. You can see just the minute amount of spray kicking up. So just enough for the visuals. You might get a little bit on the windscreen. I saw in practice the wipers just, activating ever so rarely, just as a little bit of spray will kick up here heading down the final straightaway into Parabolica turn number 11 here. So again, this kind of a little fun thing there, won't really affect the racing too much. Of course, as you did see on one of the other shots here, this is a modified layout here of Monza. A lot of water there on the exit of Parabolica there, so and with these slick tires, I mean, it might be a little bit free there, but I don't think it's going to be anything of note. But we will be skipping here as we'll go on board here. This is with Dave Hill. We are skipping the first variante, the first chicane. We're going to go straight through that, through Curva Bassano there, and head all the way into the second variante there. And that will be our first chicane, our first slowdown here So you're going to have a lot of slipstream opportunities here, a lot of chances to make time. So if you do get a decent run on somebody exiting Parabolica, you have a significant chance to get by him there in that huge on throttle time here. Conversely, if you're ahead and you get someone behind you, probably going to get past. So just things to take heed of. Will be hard to save fuel. Of course, we do have the Red Sox Racing League with their standard rule sets here, so it will be hard to save fuel at a circuit like this with as much on throttle time as we do have here. I don't think you're going to see a lot in the way of fuel saving, so I wouldn't be surprised if pit stops are kind of on the earlier end of the spectrum here, but I do tend to be wrong, and that trend usually does not tends to let itself down here. But other tracks on circuit here this season, we do have Spa next week, Montreal, so kind of 3 races in a row if you think about it that involve a lot of high speed sectors with a lot of slowdowns, chicanes, and sharp corners. All 3 of those tracks kind of in the same vein. We will be heading to the Nürburgring and then Road Atlanta and ending up at another street circuit in the form of Belle Isle. That will encompass our season 3 within the spring campaign here, and I have been told the weather conditions will be a little bit variable. I mean, we won't probably have live. I think there's going to be 1 race this season. We may have live precipitation during the race, but for the most part, it's going to be as we see right here. Again, just kind of getting a feel out what the drivers want, what the drivers will be willing to participate in, and of course, making sure that nothing, we don't want any random downpours here. That's not what we're looking for, but you can see right here, wrapping up qualifying, Nathan Lafayette there on circuit. He is 22nd here of the 27 cars that have taken time here. Dave Hill just pulling off there. He is in the 3rd spot, and that about wraps it up. Nobody really else left on circuit. So I do want to thank everyone for tuning in here to PTR TV, joining me here on a Thursday night. If it's your first time, don't make it your last. Hit that like and subscribe button on our mission to get 1,300 subscribers here on the channel. Just need a little bit of help from you to help us get there. So if you haven't done so, of course, we would highly appreciate those little clicks of the mouse here. But now that the timer's down, the cool down session has concluded. We will head down trackside, give you that PTR TV starting lineup here today for the Red Sox Racing League here at Monza. Starting today's race off from the front row is going to be Ryan Robertson, to the surprise of nobody, of course, with Mark Kudrowski there in the 2nd spot. 3rd finds Dave Hill with Lightning McQueen, Kachow, Robert Barros going to be in 4th. 5th, we have Rich Minkler, and then Sheldon Rosenbaum going to be there in the 6th position. 7th, we'll find Dennis Griffin, and then Mark Wilson. Talked to him at a podium spot at Long Beach. He's going to be rolling off in 8th. 9th and 10th will conclude and find Dean Mall and Tommy Ryan. Remember, Tommy Ryan was in the opportunity for the championship, but wasn't able to take to the grid. Does look like he's on that grid here today. 11th is Todd Marin-Pietri with Reed Rundle. I just raced him last night, as a matter of fact. He is pretty quick at a late model. He is in 12th. Robert Centeville in 13th. Kevin Kyle going to be in the 14th position. League owner / admin Les Turner in 15th, with Dwayne McCarthy, a Canadian, row number 8. 17th is David Berry with Matt Owens, another Canadian, going to be in that 18th spot. And rounding out our top 20, we have Jim Graziano, a name that you may recognize from a Mustang series on Tuesdays. David Fernandez here. He's going to be starting in 20th. J.P. Phillips in 21st, with Nathan Lafayette in 22nd. Gerald Livingston 23rd. Ed Sutcliffe in 24th. And then just rounding out our last few participants, we got Brian Irby, Mark Adji, and then shotgun on the field is Chris Shearborn, which sounds a lot to me like a Coke name from back in the day, the Coke NASCAR series. Don't think that is him, but just sounds relatively familiar. But either way, that'll be shotgun on the field here today. Very quickly here from Italy, our weather conditions. 75 in the air with a 75-degree track temp. I feel as though it just got very cloudy all of a sudden here at Italy, as which it has, or just the sun's going down, because it is 7 o'clock sim time. 55% humidity. Track moisture is 0%. Again, you'll see a little bit here and there in the form of spray kick up, but it's so minimal that the output didn't even find it worthy of amounting any of it in that value. But now we're coming down the final straightaway here, again exiting Ascari, which is the quick little flick at the end of the straightaway that leads into it with the Curva del Saraglio here, and I'll probably make every single Italian upset with my absolute lack of knowledge with how to pronounce these names here, but again, just a poor little American doing my best. But again, another season here. I couldn't even count what race it is. I probably should do that. What race here we are. How many races we've covered for the Red Sox race. We've got probably stretched to say well more than 100 at this point, it feels like. But another season of excitement here on the channel. Glad to have you with us, and let's get a night of racing underway. Coming through Parabolica, that pace car is going to take its trek into pit lane, and 30 minutes of racing here is going to go on the clock. That's going to be Ryan Robertson. He didn't win the championship last season. He's going to try it again here today, driving a BMW. Ryan Robertson's going to get us underway, and here we go, battling down the front straightaway. And again, we will not be slowing down. We're going to power through the front straightaway, straight through Bassano, and go full song here into the first chicane, which is, funnily enough, the second chicane. A little bit of spray kicks up here, but nothing that should be of concern to anybody here. As we'll come through, everybody's still side by side. A few cars, Tommy Ryan and Todd Marin-Pietri, they are off circuit here. Not sure what happened to them. While things have, everyone's minding their P's and Q's. Let's see. Oh, I wonder what happened here. Let's go from a top-down perspective. Well, we can't because of the trees. Yeah, the 808 of Marin-Pietri seemed to have issues. Now I'm getting trigger that Dean Mall had a problem. Dean Mall and Reed Rundle exiting one of the chicanes there. And, oh my goodness, dead center, and luckily he evaded everybody and got himself to the pits there before anybody else managed to get there. So a very difficult start to the race. I wonder if the spray helped cause that first incident with Marin-Pietri and Ryan. Even though the spray is quite minimal, when you have a little bit of spray from a lot of people, the cumulative effect there, it does build it up. So I wonder if that perhaps was it, or maybe that section of the track was inexplicably more wet for some reason this time. But either way, unfortunate events there, and Tommy Ryan not going to start this season off at the note he would desire. But up front, Kedrowski did lose second to Dave Hill, and he took a look there into Parabolica, not able to do it. And we'll retain in the spot. Now, what I will be interested in seeing right here is what slipstream opportunity does present itself on board here with Dave Hill. You can see 0.6 of a second back. Now we're heading down the long front straightaway, basically up to maximum speed, terminal velocity here for these GT3s. Normally we'd be hard on the binders, but we are not. We're powering through that chicane, and you can see that gap going down. It started around 0.6. Now it's down to a half second. Now it's in the 4s. And now we have our braking markers here for second variante here. And he'll get that gap down to approximately 0.3 of a second. So that's the power of the draft. Seems to be about 0.3 of a second that it can help you. So as long as he can get through Lesmos here, the first Lesmos here, then into the second Lesmos, those 90-degree or close enough to it corners here, he can probably get another lunge at it upon the start of the next lap. We'll bring our live timing and scoring onto the screen so you could follow along at home. But coming down Curva del Saraglio into Ascari here. Yeah, the entry to Ascari is an opportunity for some passes to be made. You gotta make sure you don't hop those sausage curbs and try to get the best run you can down the long straightaway into Parabolica. See that gap now? It's gone out. There is absolutely no gap here. So now heading through the trees. Hopefully we can get some views here from our drone cam, and it looks as though Dave Hill running a little bit lower, kicking up a little bit of spray there on that ultra low line, but now he is surely close enough that he's going to be able to make a move on board the rear tire cam of Ryan Robertson. Here comes Dave Hill within that slipstream, Not too far back is Bart Kedrowski, so Kedrowski may be given a little bit of tow as well. There goes, I believe, Tommy Ryan exiting the pits here, and Dave Hill's taking a look into turn number 1, into Bassano here. He's going to take a look to the inside. They're going to go side by side, battling into the first chicane. But Ryan Robertson's going to have the ideal line. Entering the chicane, Dave Hill knows that, backs off. Kedrowski, I thought, was going to take an optimistic move, thought better of it. So now Dave Hill's going to have to go back to the chopping block and try to figure something else out. Going a little bit further back in the field, trying to see what we have going on. You can see a pass here, that Hulu BMW. I'm not sure, I've never seen that one before. That's going to be Dwayne McCarthy. That's going to throw me off. More of a DirecTV stream guy myself, more of a Netflix guy, but Hulu, for those who are a fan of that app, you got a car there to fancy there, that 003 of Dwayne McCarthy. Someone has some connectivity issues. That's going to be David Berry. And David Fernandez here, want to welcome him to Red Sox Racing League. He races in our American Muscle Series on Tuesdays. I don't know if he saw the broadcast and said, hey, let me give these Thursday guys a shot. Very similar structure to the racing here, these short races with a pit stop. I think that if he likes the muscle cars, then this series probably right up his alley. Glad to have him with us. He's currently running right in the thick of it, that 14th spot, and somebody there having some massive connectivity issues and certainly not making things easy. But up front, Dave Hill didn't get through the back end of that lap to his desire here. And again, that 7/10 of a second gap is usually where I like to reference where the slipstream loses its efficacy. And right now it's at 8/10, and you don't see it really going down. So I think Ryan may have done the desired goal here and broke the draft. And if he's able to break the draft, it's solely going to turn into a battle of just pure pace, and the slipstream will be lamented out of that. You can see here everybody hopping the curb, a little bit of spray kicking up here, but at those slow speeds, those slick tires at that heat that they have will still prove well enough to grip this car around the circuit. So shouldn't have any issues there. But as we go back to that battle we were just following, this is the juiciest battle currently on the racetrack. Matt Owens in that 077 car. He is behind that battle of Dwayne McCarthy, and Dwayne McCarthy starting to lose some time there. Who's that getting by him right there in that Ferrari? That is David Berry. Then you got Fernandez there as well. Matt Owens in the thick of it as well. So that is a huge battle hunting underneath the bridge into Ascari there. They'll get themselves relatively orderly there, and again, all within the teens. Just behind that, you got J.P. Phillips in that 28. You have the 00 of Nathan Lafayette, the 34 of Jim Graziano. He is side by side with Lafayette. They will go door to door down the straightaway into Parabolica, pulling back into line. But that is certainly the best battle on the track. Other battles on track, it looks as though Robert Barros is trying to get by the 944 of Mark Kedrowski. They're going to go door to door down the front straightaway. And then who's that? That's Rich Minkler. Name, I don't think, oh, a lot of water down there. I wonder if that's where we saw the initial wreck. Makes me wonder if something actually happened there. Just a little bit of cut and feed there, apologize for that. Makes me wonder there if in that first corner in Bassano, if there is actually a little bit of water on, there's enough water on track to make it slick. We saw that's kind of where that first wreck was, and it makes me wonder if there's a little bit of slickness there. As currently on board the front nose cam of Robert Barros, you can see it's a little bit thicker clouds on that end of the circuit, and it's not raining, but it just makes you wonder with those clouds. I think that's probably why it's taking a lot longer to dry on that end of the circuit. But either way, looks like up front the gap staying around a second between Robertson and Hill. Kedrowski lost the spot to Minkler, and then now Sheldon Rosenbaum, he's throwing his hat into the ring. He's going to look to he's going to go driver's side here, entering turn number 1, but he's going to do that because he's getting the tow from Minkler, so theoretically Kedrowski could get pulled out of line, but they're going to force him into a door-to-door situation here, entering turn number 1, which is normally turn number 3, but it's turn number 1 in this instance. Rosenbaum will back off. And we'll see what he can do here heading into second variante here, the first actual chicane within our layout here today. Doesn't appear he got the run he would desire there. And Kedrowski is just all over the back bumper of Minkler. I wonder if he just made a mistake or two and it bit him here. But speaking of making a mistake or two, I don't know what happened. Dave Hill, he made that one lunge, and then he fell back to about half a second, 0.8 of a second. But now he is back to, at points almost 2 seconds. Last time by, he was only 0.2 of a second slower, but this time by, I'd be interested on the stopwatch to see what the variance is between those drivers. But got to go back. This is where the meat of the race is. This is again mid-teens. Dwayne McCarthy, 003. JP Phillips battling into Ascari. McCarthy wanted to make a move, but had to think better of it. Again, Ascari is not. It's just not a place. It's a place you can gain time, but it's not a place you really want to pass. Just due to the tight nature of it, this quick switchback section of it, it's just not really opening to making a pass, but you certainly can gain time there if you do play your cards right. Again, a lot of spray kicking up here through Parabolica. Reminds me, next time we go on board here with somebody, you can say no spray there, but maybe next time they come down that straightaway, we'll go on board, see if any spray kicks up here. See some spray kicking up there, as a matter of fact. And there's Sheldon Rosenbaum in 6th. Mark Kedrowski, Rich Minkler, and then Robert Barrows. They are all in very close proximity. That's Mark Wilson. He is tagging along. He's trying to close on in there. He's within slipstream range of Rosenbaum here, so he should have every opportunity if they keep kind of checking each other up, slowing each other up to make something happen and maybe get closer to that. He's about 1.5 seconds back, but as close as they are, you have to imagine they're going to be slowing each other up a little bit, and that may give him an opportunity. Speaking of opportunities, Kedrowski looked and took a little move on Minkler. I think that may have just been a move to get him thinking as they hop the sausage curbs there, exiting Ascari, the turn number 10 portion of Ascari. And that threw him off a little bit into the grass, but under full control of his vehicle here. But let's go on board with Minkler. Get a lot of spray we saw last time by this sector of the track, and of course we don't see any this time by, so it must be very, very situational depending on what line they are running. Let's go a little bit further back, and we've been on board with Dwayne. We've been showing Dwayne McCarthy a lot here today. Yeah, a little bit here, but that windshield appeared. Yeah, you're going to see depending on your resolution level, there was a few dots on the windshield there, but nothing of note. But speaking things of note, our first pit stop of the race, that is going to be in the form of Jim Graziano. He was right there in that mid-teens battle. But now going back to the front, and Mark Kedrowski with a dive into Variante there, and we'll get by Minkler, move him back up to the 4th spot. He'll put Robert Barrows on his hit list next. He is currently in the 3rd spot, trying to get back what he can. All of this behind Ryan Robertson, who has pulled away to a 2-second lead, well out of any slipstream range. This is just the pure pace of that 210. Deciding to run the big boy BMW here today, and who says a big boy can't be fast? Well, that BMW is certainly showing the pace here. There's not many BMWs in the race. The only other BMW in the race that I can tell is actually Dwayne McCarthy. So every track does have its, kind of cars that suit the layout, depending on their weight, their agility, and their aerodynamics. Every track does have its ideal. Perhaps here at Monza, that big boy just gets through the air a little bit better. And that helps smell. You saw a little bit of spray there again off of Parabolica, but no out of control issues, no issues. Again, just a little bit here, not enough to register within the sim, but just enough for the visuals there is that little bit of spray. We'll go on board here with Ryan, and let's take a look at the top speed here at Monza. About 165 miles an hour at the end of the front straightaway. Curva Bassano there clearly slowed us down by a mile an hour or two, but I think that's just terminal velocity of the car in the setup, about 165 miles an hour. So certainly we do hit that here. A side-by-side battle. I think he's getting a record TV time here today. Is Dwayne McCarthy. Matt Owens diving on in there, trying to go Bob's your uncle, 2 for 1 here. Matt Owens going to get by JP Phillips and Dwayne McCarthy in one shot. So kudos to him on that move. But as we already are halfway through this race, again, we've already seen a few pit stops. Graziano, Livingston, and Marin Pietri. Well, actually, Todd already had those issues, so his data may be a little bit off. But we've seen a few pit stops here. Wouldn't be surprised if pit stops are a little bit earlier than they were last week, for example, at Long Beach here, with just the amount of on-throttle time, with just the fast layout of this circuit. It would just make sense to me that they would burn the fuel a little bit faster, so you wouldn't want to stretch it as long. But coming off of Parabolica and down that long front straightaway, doesn't appear that anybody's going to take that plunge, at least within the top 10. Of course, Monza, the famous track, built, I don't even remember what it was built, but all the way back there in the 50s and 60s. You can see there right to the right of the track. We'll go on board here. All the green barriers here at Monza, of course, has that oval that is kind of decayed, but all within there, our famous oval that blends in here at Monza. Of course, you can kind of see it from the top-down layout with our blimp. Actually, you can't see it from this angle, which is just perfect because I'm trying to paint a story that is not actually visible. But there is the layouts here at Monza with the 2.5 mile, probably 40-degree banked oval. Bumpy as you can physically imagine, but it is drivable. They smoothed it artificially for your virtual racing pleasure. You see NASCARs run there on the fictitious 2.5 miler, but you also still have the old school combined layouts at the Formula One race back in the 60s. You can run about a 5-mile layout here at Monza using that old school oval, one that you don't see too often, but some leagues will run it for the fun of it. Makes that front straightaway super narrow, which is kind of why the people don't use it. But it's always kind of fun. It's kind of fun that iRacing did create that ability for us as they head down the straightaway here. Robert Barros, he is underneath Mark Kedrowski, and/or Kedrowski is to the outside of Barros. Not quite sure which side of the spectrum we're on, but we saw Kedrowski trying to get by Barros, so I do have the fathom to believe that. But abort plan for Robert Barros. He's going to say, well, if I'm getting past, I may as well just pit. So he'll do that. Now Sheldon Rosenbaum, he's going to be inside of, that is Rich Minkler down the front straightaway. Minkler is using the draft from Kedrowski. Sheldon probably wishes he had it, but he's going to head into turn number 1 again. Very, very wet on that inside lane. I do wonder, and I might have to ask someone in post-race, if it is a slight bit more slick there on the inside in that corner. It's the only part of the track where there's that thick of spray. So I do wonder if that corner with all the trees and now the lack of sunshine, maybe that corner is a tiny bit slicker. I would imagine not, but it very could be. Just just depends on the situation there. But that battle is now over. And I thought there was something shaking up back here, but that is for naught. I did miss a wreck earlier in the race, so I do want to quickly bring that up, just for the sake of getting everybody their time here, even if good or bad. This is Brian Irby on lap 2. Just a self-spin there in Parabolica. So he has been out of the race because of that incident. So missed it live, but I saw it on my archive, so just wanted to let everybody know what happened to Brian Irby, and apologize, Brian, for showing off your little faux pas there. But here comes Kedrowski back to the bumper of Rosenbaum. Rosenbaum clearly got by while we were watching that replay, so let's see if anybody's going to take a break into the pit road. Yes, it is. The answer is Dave Hill. He's coming to the attention of his crew, along with teammate Mark Wilson. And we see a wealth of cars there at the back end of the top 10. There goes Reed Rundle. I think that's Centerville, as well as Les Turner, who I haven't talked about him yet today. Quiet run in and around the top 10. But here comes Kedrowski again to the inside of Rosenbaum, and he'll get him there in Bassano. And now they will head into the first chicane. Well, I guess it's the first chicane on circuit, but it's the second chicane in actuality. That one keeps going by my brain there, but Kedrowski back up to second, unfortunately 4 seconds behind the leader. Kevin Kyle, I want to give a shout out to him. He is having a fabulous run here. Nice solid run, just as I say that he butchers the chicane and may lose a spot, but keeping that number 65 car rather clean here. So kudos go to him. Still has to make his pit stop. He's up to 6, but he does have to make his stop, so that will kind of shuffle things out. But the Dr. Dabber BMW, number 210 of Ryan Robertson, doing Ryan Robertson things, dominating these races. Thought we were going to have a little bit more of a show for him today. Thought we were going to have a little bit more competition. Kedrowski showed the speed in practice, but I think he just, because of the fact that Kedrowski couldn't get off the grid probably how he wanted to, started second, but really didn't run second for any portion of this race. I just think that that was probably the driver that Ryan was going to fight with it. Here he comes down pit lane, so everybody else will follow. You can see Kedrowski, Sheldonbaum, I haven't said that one in a few weeks, Rosenbaum and Rich Minkler all coming to the attention of their crew. Makes you wonder here. Looks like the average pit stop time is around 11 to 12 seconds, so we will see indeed if that's the case. Did Ryan overshoot his box? I guess he didn't. I would have thought he did, because you can see the front tires there do appear to be outside of the pit box, but the iRacing pit gods will allow that to be legal, and he will exit his pit box with a 10.2 second pit stop, which is rather low comparative to many other drivers. So hopefully he didn't take too much of a chance on the fuel load. He didn't have to, because of how fast he is and the lead he had. He didn't have to take any chances, but by far a very short pit stop. Dave Hill also a short pit stop, exactly the same, as a matter of fact, 10.2 seconds. But the gap will remain. Actually, he gained a few tenths. Now it's down to 3.5 seconds, so he did gain a tiny bit. Robert Barros came out behind Rosenbaum, and now where is Mark Kedrowski? I believe Kedrowski had a drive-through penalty, a speeding penalty, because you can see the pit stop time there being 51 seconds. That would appear to me, based on what I know of the iRacing penalty system, to be a 40-second speeding penalty. Our boy Mark here, he was going at it. He tried to gain a little bit extra time there on that pit stop cycle, and the risk that you do fight when you do that is that you royally screw it up. And if you royally screw it up, that's what happens, is the penalty police will get you, and they'll park you in your box for 40 seconds post pit stop, and takes a top 5 run and puts them all the way back to about the 21st spot, maybe. I'm just looking at where he is on circuit now. He's battling with Gerald Livingston there in that number 67 car. That puts him in the 20th. He's 9 seconds behind the next position on track. That's going to be Chris Sherburne. So with approximately 4 laps to go, I mean, maybe in a perfect world, he can get himself up to Ed Sutcliffe, who's currently in 18th spot. I think that's probably going to be the best he's going to be able to muster. So terrible break for him. Hopefully Spa next week goes a little bit better. But Kachow, Lightning McQueen, right behind Sheldon here. This is a battle for our podium here to stay on that last, the short step of the podium. That's what they're fighting for now, heading into the first Lesmo, the second Lesmo here. See a very windy day at Monza. You can see how those trees are swaying so vigorously here in this wind. Let's just get an update on the weather. We may as well. See 28-mile-an-hour winds. I think that's close to the maximum that iRacing will actually allow within their weather model. So that definitely is some whipping up wind. Makes you wonder if certain corners of the track may be affected more than others. I don't know the geometry. I don't have the compass on hand, so I can't tell you which direction that wind, while the wind is coming from a southeast direction. Couldn't tell you which, to the direction of this circuit on a map. I don't have a compass for the track map, so if I had to take a guess, I'm going to say southeast would be a head-on wind going into Parabolica if the track map is oriented the way I think it is. So, but that is just a royal guess, so don't take that with any level of accuracy here. That's on track. You see David Berry getting by Kevin Kyle. Ahead of that, you have David Fernandez there. Les Turner in ninth. And I think the best battle on track's actually back here in the 19th spot right now. It's Sutcliffe and Chris Shearburn. Just talked about them. I don't think Kadrowski's going to get to him, so this battle will just be between the two of them. They're battling down that front straightaway. See if any slipstream opportunity presents itself. It does. That's going to be Shearburn looking to the right side of the track in his Mercedes. Try to get by the Ferrari of Ed Sutcliffe, heading into Curva Bassano here, and kicking up the dust, kicking up the water, picking some mud. There's Shearburn here, but it looks like Sutcliffe will relinquish that spot. Again, Dwayne McCarthy getting his record TV time here today. He's battled with Jim Graziano for 14th and 15th here on circuit right now, and through Lesmo, somebody there kicking up the dust, Luke Bryan style. It's going to be J.P. Phillips going wide in the Lesbos there, but he keeps it under control, remains on circuit. May have the 1X, but as long as he didn't go over his incident thresholds, he shouldn't really have any issues. You can go off once. I think it's 6X here before you have any penalties. Barrow still in close proximity to Sheldon there. That's, again, for the bottom step of the podium here. You got Dave Hill in second, and all of them 5 seconds behind Ryan Robertson, who, as we pull up the lap times on your ticker, and you will see Ryan Robertson, what was it, half second faster than anybody last time by Robert Barrow, second fastest on track at a 40 flat, but Ryan at a 39.5, so very impressive and very difficult to do on a flat-out track like this where it predominantly is, full throttle, full throttle brake, full throttle brake. That's what most of this track is. There's not really, of course, you do have Ascari, which requires, the switchback section, the chicanes, and how aggressive you can brake. So, but don't get me wrong, it's not easy. But comparative to, a street circuit or other tracks that are much more technical than here, it is very, very surprising to have that big of a gap on the field. So that just shows that skill level of Ryan Robertson, why he wins so much and why he is a multi-time champion within this Red Sox Racing League. But now we are coming down to, he is coming down the final straightaway into Parabolica on our timer. I think we're going to get 2 to go. Our average lap time around here is about 1:40, so we're going to cross that stripe with about 2 minutes 40. So that'll give us 2 more laps. Around 7.5 some odd more miles are here around Monza. We'll see what happens there. Again, no real battles going on within the top 5, but the best battles we have, that's Matt Owen trying to get by David Berry, who's having his connectivity issues, and then when Dwayne McCarthy battling with Graziano. These are the best battles currently on circuit. Everybody else pretty well situated where they stand. But again, Ryan Robertson here coming into Secondo Variante there. He'll head down into the short little chute into the Lesbos here. 90-degree corner. Keeps it on circuit. Goes, uses all that AstroTurf. Keeps it on track. And then the second Lesbos here. We do have somebody on the cusp of going a lap down. That's going to be Todd Marin-Pietri. Again, first lap incident. Had to recover from it. And he is going to fight to stay on the lead lap. Or maybe he'll back off and end his race a minute early so he doesn't have to run the extra one. Sometimes, not gonna lie, I've done that before. If I was last car on the lead lap, my car is handling like poo, I'm not having fun, I just want the thing to be over. If he was to back off and let Ryan Robertson pass him, he can basically shorten his race by about 3 minutes. Sometimes when your race is that bad, you have to make those calls. But We'll see what he does do, if Robertson may even get to him on pure pace alone. But coming through Parabolica for the penultimate time here, Barney the flag man, he's going to have that flag in hand, I think. I don't really have a Barney can here, but he's going to have it, he's going to wave it, and this is going to be 1 lap to go. He's not officially waving it yet, but it's all but inevitable here because we do have less than 1 minute left, and that is less time than a lap will offer here. Les Turner may be making a last-second lunge for the 8th spot. We'll keep a loose eye on that here as he's going to be within slipstream range. He may be able to overtake him just purely by the slipstream here by the first chicane, but also Sheldon trying to get second here from Dave Hill. He's running out of opportunities to do so, but he's close enough to it. If he can get a good run here out of Lesmo, he might have one opportunity, get through Ascari, and maybe have a chance into Parabolica here. But here comes Les Turner looking passenger side, outside lane here into Variante. He might catch Centerville. No, he did not. I thought Centerville may have had a compromised corner there. Maybe he would have sacrificed his exit, but Centerville did a good job hanging on to it, so they will remain in the 8th spot for the time being here. But coming through Ascari for the for the final time here. You can see the white flag formally being denoted. Todd Marin-Pietri looks as though he will stay on the lead lap. Here goes Les Turner again on the outside, entering Ascari. Don't think that's going to stick. We'll keep it tied up very closely here, and Centerville's going to give it to him. So Les Turner goes up to 8th, but more importantly, coming off Parabolica for the final time, pick it up where he left off. He won Long Beach. He's going to win here at Monza, starting off the GT3 Season 3. That's going to be Ryan Robertson with another win here in Red Sox. Sheldon got close, but Dave Hill will hang on for second there. Minkler gets a 4th. Or rather a 5th, excuse me, Marin-Pietri. And let's take a look here, other battles that may or may not happen crossing the stripe. Les Turner got that 8th spot. Here comes a gaggle of cars here. Centerville, Fernandez gets a top 10. Kevin Kyle with an 11th. We may have a battle. Dwayne McCarthy again. He's been the TV boy here today. He's coming down the front straightaway. And they'll be close to Graziano, but Graziano will nudge him out for the 14th spot. JP Phillips here on track, finishing it out, but as these guys do finish their laps, doing his cool down lap is Ryan Robertson. He does have to make it, as we always say, has to make it back to the finish. He has to make it back to the start of the pits under his own power to evade any kind of post-race points penalty. So he just wants to make sure that he gets that task accomplished. But let's go ahead, start our post-race show, wrap things up here from Italy with our final finishing results. Ryan Robertson with the win by 6.2 seconds over Dave Hill. Sheldon Rosenbaum in 3rd, Robert Barros in 4th. Rich Minkler gets a 5th with Mark Wilson in 6th. Reed Rundle in 7th. Les Turner gets the 8th there, get that last few lap move there. 9th and 10th finds Robert Centerville. And then, of course, David Fernandez, his first time in the league, gets himself a top 10. Next page of results, we have Kevin Kyle with David Berry in 12th, Matt Owens in 13th, Jim Graziano in 14th, it's Dwayne McCarthy in 15th, Nathan Lafayette, JP Phillips, Chris Sherburne, Ed Sutcliffe, and then Mark Kedrowski with that speeding penalty relegates him all the way down to the 20th spot. And then rounding out our last page of results, we have Gerald Livingston, Mark Agee, Todd Marin-Pietri had his lap 1 issue along with Tommy Ryan. We saw what happened to Brian Irby and Dean Mall. I don't think we may have caught what happened to him, but if we did, I already forgot what it was. But either way, shotgun on the field. So we'll see who we get in the form of interviews here on the evening. I do believe we'll probably get Ryan. We always get Ryan for at least a minute or so. So we'll await his presence here in the booth. Usually we get Dave Hill. I'm not sure if we'll get Sheldon. But we'll at least get Ryan Robertson, I'm sure, in just a jiffy. And allow him to get a few words in about his efforts. Right on cue, just as I called it. There he is. Well, Ryan, you did Ryan things here once again. I'll tell you, I was surprised. You know, we saw you have a little bit of a battle with Dave, but once you broke the slipstream, again, Ryan just doing Ryan things, man. What was that one like with a little bit of water on the track here tonight?
Yeah, I mean, the track's been lightly damp since the start of practice. So, like, leading into this, I think for the last maybe 15 minutes of practice, the track was dry to where it is now. So it was kind of cool. Like, we were just constantly swapping lap times in practice from, I think we started at like 48s down to 39s. So it was cool leading to that. Lap 1 or 2, I had that mistake in Parabolica, and that gave Dave the run, and it got me a little worried there. But yeah, once I broke the draft, then I could go back to fuel saving and just kind of, relax a little bit and try not to off track, and try not to find the rogue puddle that's occasionally out there.
Yeah, I did see there was a few corners. It seemed like the big sweeper, turn number 3 after the first chicane that we bypassed, and then as well, even Parabolica, if you ran a little bit low there was a lot of spray. I'm not super keen because I don't drive as much as I used to, but is that spray more of a visual thing, or was it actually a tiny bit slick through those sectors?
In the race at the start, before we started clearing it more, if you got right in between the curb and the track, that little bit of spray was enough to kind of wheel spin the car just a little bit. Not enough to kind of loop it, but enough to let you know that it's there, and you should probably give it, half a meter distance until it clears itself off oil going.
Well, that may explain a wreck that we saw earlier in the race, but either way, man, congrats on another win. We head to a similar-ish track next week, Spa, long straightaways with some chicanes, and we'll see what the weather's like there, but congrats on another win, man.
Awesome. Thanks, Corey.
See ya.
See ya.
All right, now we got second place here. All right, Dave, so you gave Ryan one run for his money here in that opening stage, but once he broke the slipstream, he did Ryan things, and it was a battle of you hanging on to second, which you did just barely there over Sheldon. What more did you need tonight?
I know there was no getting around Ryan, but I figured I'd stick my nose in at least once, seeing as how I had the opportunity. But he ran good. I was, I think, pretty consistent the whole time, but then I did notice my tires were starting to give way later on there, and just tried to make a good pit stop. And Sheldon had a bit more pace at the end, and I think 1 or 2 more laps he would have got me. So I'm glad the race ended when it did.
Yeah, so as I asked Ryan here, of course, our first taste of a little bit of precipitation here in Red Sox. Of course, very minimal, but we did notice mainly in turn number 3 there, Curva Grande, and then, of course, Parabolica, a little bit more spray than I probably expected, and he said that there was a little bit of slickness there. Did you notice that as well, where had to be a tiptoe just a tiny bit through those slightly damp sections of the track?
I didn't notice, actually. I mean, I could see the puddles and I could see the spray in my rear view, but I ran my normal dry lines, and maybe that was the wrong thing to do, and I just got lucky. But I actually never had a problem, but I know a couple people that did, so I must have just tiptoed through it without knowing, to be honest.
Well, I guess that shows your skill there, man. But next week we head to a track, I'd put it in the same category as here, Spa, long straightaways, ton of slipstream, some chicanes and whatnot. So anything that you could take from here till next week?
Spa's gonna be interesting. I like that track. It's a long track, but I don't know. I haven't been to it for quite a while, so we'll see how it goes. It's definitely a more challenging one for me.
All right, well, we'll see what you can do, man. We'll start off the points in a pretty good spot, and we'll see you next week.
Excellent. Thank you, Corey.
Yep. All right, and now the bottom here of our podium, but not by much, Sheldon Rosenbaum. So you did a great job. You almost snuck away second. You were always in the thick of it with somebody here. Must have had a fun race here tonight.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun. I thought it was going to be Mark and myself, but he had a problem in the pits, and then I came out ahead of Robert and right pretty close to Dave, and man, Robert was putting the pressure on me, so I just kept pushing harder, and then next thing I know, I finally got a little bit of a draft off Dave. It's like, oh yeah, maybe I can catch him.
Yeah, and you got to within about 0.2 of a second, so not quite enough. But this track, how much different is this layout? I mean, obviously we're just missing one chicane there on the front straightaway, but how much of the dynamic of the lap does that take out of it, where you're going fast for so long, you can build up that draft? Does it change kind of the dynamic of the lap, having that chicane being out of here?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, the draft never is in a factor when the first chicane's in there, but it was tonight.
All right, and then last question for you. I asked the other two, and I've had two different responses, so you'll kind of break the ice there on it. Of course, our first taste of some water here on the track here in Red Sox. Ryan said he felt a little bit of slickness in Parabolica, and then in a Curva Grande turn number 3. And Dave said not so much. Did you notice anything? Because we saw the spray was pretty drastic, depending on where you ran in those corners.
Only if you got really tight to the curbing would you feel it. I would feel it, but so I'd try to stay off the curbing just a little bit, and it seemed to have better grip.
All right, well, you did a good job, man. Next week we head to a pretty comparable track here with the speed, the slipstream opportunities at Spa, so we'll see if you can wrap up another podium there next week.
All right, thanks.
All right, well, that is our podium, that is our interviews, and that is our show here tonight. Want to thank everyone for tuning in to PTR TV. If it's your first time, don't make it your last. Hit that like and subscribe button. We'll be back here next week at Spa. I'll have Bradley Dalton in the booth with me with the terms of the channel. We'll be back live Saturday night with the Spartan Masters Series at Dover for a long one, 240 laps of next-gen action. But that's going to be Corey signing out of the booth here tonight. Have a great night, and we'll catch you next time.